Hi, I'm Wes, the Explosion, and this is the Backlog. As I briefly mentioned last week, I saw the second Sonic movie, and because of that, I was in a bit of a mood. Rather than playing one of the questionable Sonic titles on my list, though, which could have killed my buzz, had it been a dud, I remembered that I had never gotten around to playing the DLC for Sonic Mania, so I upgraded to Plus and decided to stream it. I really love that this game even exists. My initial understanding was that this was originally a fan project, though looking into it a bit, it seems that that's only half, maybe 3/4 true. Apparently, Sega hired a ROM hacker named Whiteman to make mobile ports of some older games. He and his team made a prototype of Mania and used therein to show it off to Sega, who then gave them official support and a few suggestions. Eventually, this gem was churned out. A lot of franchises have very talented fans, so I think it's really cool when that line is transcended and they become creators and contributors. It's a great way to get people who are truly passionate about a series working on it, and about the only other example I can think of that feels similar is the fan game Street Fighter X Mega Man. Capcom didn't sell it, but they did distribute it. I still have my Mega Buster thumb drive with the game and other files on it. And while I get why fan projects can't be given unconditional official support, I still wish it was something that happened more. Cause let's be real, even if Samus Returns hadn't been in the works, there's no way that Nintendo wouldn't have taken down AM2R, right? But I digress. While there was a professional connection there, it still feels like Sega let a relative outsider take the reins of their most valuable franchise, and the result was a resounding success. So I hope Whitehead gets the chance to do it again sometime down the line. I'm honestly kind of surprised that we don't have a Sonic Mania 2 by now, though I guess the DLC kinda fills that spot? But what does make Sonic Mania such a hit? Pretty much everything that made the original set of Genesis titles so memorable themselves. The characters are iconic and well designed. The game even brings back some obscure ones, like Team Hooligan, and introduces the Hard-Boiled Heavies, a new group of Eggman robots that fits his signature style and the series' aesthetic in general pretty well. More than that, though, is the return of the classic Sonic gameplay. While there have been quite a few good Sonic games over the years, many would argue that there have been even more missteps. Besides just the obvious culprits like Secret Rings in '06, some people just never got over the jump to 3D, so this return to form does a lot to appeal to older fans of the series. You start on the left and make your way to the right, with multiple paths that encourage you to experiment and explore to find hidden items or even just the most optimal path. You collect rings to build your score, and finding 100 will net you an extra life, though more important than that is how they protect you from death. Get hit and you'll drop all you've built up, but get at least one back and you can live through another attack. While there are a few insta-deaths, for the most part, the as long as you still have one mentality still works here. It goes beyond just a return to the older game style, though, with many old stages returning, from the staple Green Hill Zone to Flying Battery Zone to Hydro City, to name a few. And of course there are new areas created for this title, but they just fit so well that while I know Studiopolis and a few others are new, there are a few that I'm not sure whether they're remixes or not, they just blend in that well. There are 12 zones in the main game, each with 2 acts. Normally, Act 1 starts out pretty similarly to the old stages they're revisiting, or, in the cases of the new ones, at least somewhat straightforward, but add in a new mechanic in the second, adding to the game's variety and, in some cases, making even 2 halves of the same level feel completely different. The game's soundtrack follows suit, typically being a solid remix or new track in Act 1, and then turning more intense for Act 2. While it could be my imagination, some of these stages do feel longer or more meandering than some of those of old, but whether that's a good thing or not really depends on what type of player you are. While I'm sure some fans like being able to blaze through a level in under 30 seconds, others do see game length as a big source of value, so this could make Mania appeal to some even more than the old titles. While it took me a bit longer the first time I played it, this time I managed to get through the game in around 3 hours, even while fiddling with the bonus stages, so it's still something you can get through quickly, just maybe not as quickly as you'd expect. When it comes to bonus stages, there are 2 types. If you hit a checkpoint with enough rings, you can play a round of Red Sphere, Blue Sphere, like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. For the uninitiated, in this you travel around an area, running over blue balls to turn them red. Touch a red by mistake and you fail. Flip all the spheres around a block of them without touching the ones in the middle and they turn into rings. Things get faster the longer you're in a stage, and there are also some extra obstacles, such as decorative balls that will send you walking backwards if you run into them, and goals that leap you forward a great deal. If you rack up enough of a score, you'll earn a continue, and if you manage to clear the stage, you get a badge for bragging rights. These are fun, but I'm not great at them. Back when I originally played Mania, I managed to only clear 2 or 3, but I still love that they made a return. There are also special zones, which you enter by finding hidden giant rings. Complete these to earn a Chaos Emerald. While there have been similar bonus stages in the past, I believe that this format is unique to this title. In them, you chase a drone trying to make off with one of the emeralds. You collect rings to increase the amount of time you have to run it down, and spheres to fill a speed gauge. Doing so will increase your speed from Mach 1 to 2 to 3, making it easier to catch up to the drone, but harder to avoid obstacles like spikes and bombs, which will make you drop rings, or even just the edge of the stage, which will be an immediate fail if there are no barriers. These stages are also fun, and if you can believe, even I managed to clear all of them on each of my playthroughs, though sometimes it required replays to do so. Collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds and you unlock a super form for whichever character you're playing that can be activated when you collect 100 rings. This will change their coloration, make them nigh invincible, and much faster, though sometimes to the point of feeling slippery and uncontrollable. In addition to that, when activated, the super form burns through rings, so if you're not constantly refilling them, you can run out and be left in a precarious position when turning back. While this is a bit of a trade-off, it can make some areas much easier, and power tripping can be quite fun, so it can be worth the risk. Most importantly, perhaps, is that if you're playing as Sonic, it unlocks an extra boss fight at the end of the game, which clearing grants the player the true ending, so for him especially, it's important to get all 7. Before this, I played through Mania 4 times, once each as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Sonic and Tails. They play exactly as they did in the Genesis games, at least as far as I can tell. The DLC, Sonic Mania Plus, adds in 2 more characters, Mighty and Ray. I think they were both pretty obscure members of the cast before Mania tossed them into the spotlight. Mighty is an armadillo that can slam into the ground while he's in a ball as an attack and also to dislodge hidden power-ups. He can also tank some hits, not taking damage when he sometimes should, though even after seeing this happen very many times, I still don't know how this works specifically. Ray, on the other hand, is a flying squirrel, and as such, can glide. I never really got down these mechanics though, so I just kinda played him like I did the other characters, just without any of the character-specific gimmicks. Overall, their addition was just a great excuse to play through the game again. There's also an encore mode, which for some reason I thought was just a replay of the regular stages with the cutscenes cut out. But apparently actually remixes and changes a few things up, so I'm still not completely done with the game. All that praise aside, there is one major complaint I have with the game, and really it's more a beef that I have with the whole Sonic series, and that's what a contradiction their mission statement feels like. The game is designed around the motto, gotta go fast, and yet there are so many times that you're punished for doing so. So often does the game speed you along, giving you not just straight paths to travel through, but also speeding you up with things like springs, boost pads, and the like, which not only lead to a feeling of loss of control, but cause you to plow right into enemies and obstacles. There were countless times when I called the game an asshole for placing something directly in my path at just the right spot where I either wouldn't be able to slow down or even react to. It feels like you're constantly being told to go fast, and then when you do, that same voice will demand to know what you were thinking and call you an idiot for speeding along so. This has been an issue with just about every Sonic game, and there have been so many times over the years that this has caused me to question why I even play them. That said, it's still not enough of a deal breaker to make me stop. Part of this is the ring system. With you being able to recover from most hits, just setting you back on your progress to another life, while you may get hit a lot, it's typically not fatal and instead pretty forgiving. While this doesn't cover insta-deaths, with this being my 5th and 6th time through the game, I remembered where most of the worst offenders were and managed to avoid them. There were several instances of pinching though still. Even more than that though is how fun some of these games can be, Mania being a prime example. Great gameplay, exhilarating speed, well-designed characters, hidden collectibles, and, even when everything else is crap, a pretty rockin' soundtrack. While there are some patches of irritation and frustration, when the high points are so high, it's pretty easy to overlook the game sucker punching you for what feels like the 19th time in the past hour. Still though, this is a point that I'd like the most feedback on. Do I just need to get better at the game, memorize the maps, and optimize my paths more? Or can the game feel kind of unfair at points, but it's fun enough besides and lax enough with its fail state that you just kind of overlook it? Or are you one of the few that considers the game, and perhaps the whole series, trash? Let me know. So, while I might be about 5 years late, I'm pleased to say that I really love Sonic Mania. It feels like the perfect blend of nostalgia and innovation, and what a lot of the fanbase had been waiting for years. While not everyone may agree, and there have certainly been some stinkers to lend them some credence, I believe that Sonic can work well in both 2D and 3D, so I hope that this just isn't a one-time return thing and that they continue to do both. I especially hope that the team that worked on Mania get another crack at the series, whether it be a numbered sequel or standalone title. This is a very easy and strong recommendation from me, with only those who absolutely hate this style of game wanting to stay away. Now let's talk about that movie, so that I can tag it for the video. And also because I kinda want to. I enjoyed the first one. While nothing spectacular, it was just fun enough with just enough nods to the source material that I had a nice time. My personal theory, which I have no way to back up, is that originally it was just going to be one of those basic wacky kids movies, where cartoon character shows up in our world, makes friends with a human character, goes on a goofy adventure, and learns a simple lesson by the end, like the Chipmunks or Woody Woodpecker. And for the most part, that's what it was, I know. However, once they screened the initial trailer, there was enough backlash from the people they were hoping to sell tickets to that they not only redid the character design to make it more palatable, but also brought in some people to consult for the movie. I think ones that even had some hand in Sonic Mania, tying this all together nicely. My guess is that these individuals were the ones that brought in more of the video game elements and references, which were the parts that I enjoyed, and gave me hope that if they came at the sequel with the intent to make it a video game movie rather than pivoting towards that as they neared the finish line, it would be much better for it. And it seems like that's largely what happened this time. While some of the silly children's movie tropes that I mentioned before are present, they take a backseat to the Master Emerald and Dr. Eggman villainy going on. While the humans are still there, they take on a role more like a B-plot or intermission, and while continuing to build on the characters that were there, also seem to be trying to take it towards more of the role that people did in some of the 3D games, though there are still a few cringe moments. As for the characters from the games though, I think they did a pretty good job with them. While Sonic is a little more immature than we might be used to in recent years, he's still confident and quippy, mocking his enemies while building up his allies with what he says. While Tails still has a hero worship thing going on, he seems to be getting past the bullying he suffered for his obvious mutation, like many early interpretations have him doing, and it's cute to watch how he grows through the movie. Knuckles is still gullible, but highly principled and more serious than the rest of the cast, perhaps a bit more than usual. And Eggman is still very self-centered and aggrandizing, to the point of megalomania. He might be a bit more zany with Jim Carrey at the helm, but given how many different iterations of Eggman there have been, I feel like they have the most wiggle room with his characterization. There's enough love paid to the source material that I can see why audiences are giving it rave reviews, but without being a fan of the series, I'm not sure how much someone would get out of it, so I can completely understand why critics are much more lukewarm on it. I think a person's enjoyment is directly proportional to how invested they are in the Sonic franchise, but given how popular the character is, it's no surprise how well the movie is doing. I had a ton of fun watching it and couldn't stop myself from rushing out to see it on the Friday it came out. If you've watched this far into the video, I think there's a very good chance that you'll enjoy it too, and you probably didn't need me to tell you that, so I appreciate the watch time. If you do want something a bit unique from me, I'll say that I think if video game movies continue to go in the direction of Sonic 2 and Detective Pikachu, it has the potential to supplant superhero films as the next big gold rush. Personally, I'm really looking forward to Sonic 3, want to see another Pokemon movie besides the anime ones, though I don't think it necessarily needs to be a sequel to Detective Pikachu, really hope that they don't bungle the Mega Man movie I've heard is in the works, and really want to see a Metroid film, since I think that would lend itself really well to the medium. As for the Mario movie, I hope it either surprises me or is so bad that it's at least funny. Just please don't be mediocre. Hopefully these thoughts don't age too poorly. As for you, what do you think? Did you like Sonic 2 or are you looking forward to it? Do you think video game movies could be the next big thing, and do you even want them to be? And if so, what do you want to see adapted? I feel like this subject could be a video or two on its own, though I'd kinda want to rope someone else into it if I did. And that'll be it for this episode. Thanks for sticking around. I didn't clear anything off the backlog, but darn it if that Sonic DLC hadn't been hanging around on my wishlist for a while. Next week, I think I'll be streaming Iconoclast, so hopefully I can make enough time for that to talk about, and I have some other stuff I'm fiddling with in between as always, so I hope to see you back for that. Please consider subscribing if that sounds appealing, and thanks again for watching. See ya!